क्या पढ़े थे पिछले क्लास में?
Gear trains, simple and compound gear train.
What is gear train? Who can tell? Tell.
So two or more gears are contact with mesh each other,
Combined. Okay.
and then
Difference between simple and compound gear train. Who can tell?
सर सिंपल में ओनली वन गियर ये इंटरमीडिएट रहता है और कंपाउंड में टू और मोर देन इंटरमीडिएट गियर्स.
No. Only
सिंपल में ओनली गियर्स होता है, इंटरमीडिएट गियर्स, बट कंपाउंड में शाफ्ट होता है.
इंटरमीडिएट शाफ्ट होता है. वेरी गुड. आपके सिंपल गियर ट्रेन में आपका दो गियर के बीच में इंटरमीडिएट और इडल गियर्स रहता है. अगर उधर इंटरमीडिएट शाफ्ट रहता है जिसके ऊपर ईच शाफ्ट में दो दो गियर माउंट होके रहता है. समझे?
यस सर.
So if in a simple gear train, number of idle gear is even. What about the direction of rotation of driving and driven gear? Who can tell?
Direction is same.
Same direction.
If there is even number of gear, direction is
नो
same.
सर.
Or you tell. I want to hear from you.
ऑड नंबर होने से सेम होता है, इवन होने से अलग होता है.
इवन होने से ऑपोजिट होता है सर.
Okay, very good. तो बहुत कंसेप्चुअल चीज ये है. व्हाट इज गियर ट्रेन. Okay, so gear trains are a combination of gears to transfer power from one side to other. So in previous we have classified gear train as a simple gear train, compound gear train, reverted, planetary, sun planet gear. These are like that. But here we have to only concentrate on simple and a compound gear train. Okay. Okay. This part we already discussed. Okay. All you are having pen and paper or not? Copy. So this is the things here. This simple gear train. This is the diagrammatical representation of your simple gear train having driver and driven or follower gear. If we insert one intermediate or idle gear, so you can see from the figure B that both driver and driven gear are rotating in same direction. And in figure C, what you are able to see here, you can see in if two intermediate gears are there in between driver and the driven gear, your direction of rotation is different. Okay, that means it is opposite to each other. And why that is simple gear train is used having more than one intermediate or idle gear only to transmit power when the distance between the two shafts is large. Okay, but it's not larger because in case of larger you have to use belt drive. So we also derived your speed ratio and train value in the previous class. So if N1 is the speed of gear 1 into the speed of gear 2, T1 and T2 teeths on each gears. So you can see what we have derived for simple gear train. This is the N1 by N2 represents your speed ratio and N2 by N1. So mark it that in case of a gear train, the speed ratio is the reciprocal of your train value. Okay, or the reverse. So simple gear train we can here by providing this way you will find the final speed ratio N1 by N3. So Can you write a question? Can you write a question or not? All you are having pen and paper?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So write are there are 4 gears mounted on
Right.
parallel shafts. लिखे रहे
Yes, sir.
The speed of the driver gear is 1000 rpm. The speed of the driver gear is 1000 rpm. 1000 rpm. There are
Yes,
4
sir.
gears mounted on parallel shaft. The speed of the driver gear is 1000 rpm. Find speed of the driven gear. Find speed of the driven gear if numbers of teeth are 80, 80, 60, 40 and 50 on gear 1, 2, 3, 4 respectively. What is speed of the driven gear if numbers of teeth are 80, 60, 40 and 50 on gear 1, 2 and 3 and 4 respectively? अरे सभी क्वेश्चन लिखे या नहीं रे? अरे रीड करो. Others visual.
There are 4 gears mounted on the parallel shaft.
Yes,
The speed of the driver gear is 1000 rpm.
very good. Then
Find speed of the driven gear if number of teeth are 80, 60, 40 and 50 on gears 1, 2, 3 and 4 respectively.
very good. Solve it. You can solve it or not. The question is related to your simple gear train. Okay. So here
Yes.
in this figure, here 3 gears are there, but in the question it is 4 gears. Okay. No. Solve it.
Sir, 1600 rpm.
Very good. 1600 rpm. So you can calculate by n4 by n1 will give you
T1 by T4.
T1 by T4 into N1, or N4 by N1 equal to T1 by T4. So N4 becomes your N1 into T1 by T4.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anyone who calculated on your copy can show me through screen share. कोई एक शेयर करो स्क्रीन और दिखाओ जो आंसर किए हो. दिखाओ, जल्द दिखाओ, टाइम नहीं. आदर्श विश्वास शेयर करो स्क्रीन.
Yes, sir. Sir.
N1 by N4 equal to 50 by 80. N4 by, okay, very good. Surnila Malik. Okay. Okay, write the, you can see, this is one question related to your simple gear train. Move to the next one, your compound gear train. If question will ask also in the same speed ratio, also the train value it will ask. So prepare accordingly. So compound gear train we also discussed in the previous class, and what we found, we derived that this one. Okay. So write another question for from compound gear train. Write another question from compound gear train. Are you are able to hear me or not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Write the question. A motor shaft is connected to gear 1. A motor shaft is connected to gear 1. A motor shaft is connected to gear 1, which rotates at 50 rpm, which rotates at 50 rpm, full stop. Find the speed of the output shaft. Find the speed of the output shaft gear 6 as shown in figure, as shown स्क्रीन शेयर किया गया है उसी ढंग से नहीं समझे. On each gear, each gear is 75, 30, 60, 25, 40 and 20 respectively. The number of teeth on each gear is 75, 30, 60, 25, 40 and 20 respectively. लिखे रहे क्वेश्चन लिखे दो.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Aditya, you read the question. Aditya, read.
A motor shaft is connected to gear 1, which rotates at 50 rpm.
Okay.
Find the speed of output shaft gear 6 as shown in the figure. The number of teeth on each gear is 75, 30, 60, 25, 40 and 20 respectively.
Okay. So you can see, able to see the figure in the screen. Are you able to see the figure in the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So here, that means motor shaft is connected to your gear 1, which is rotate at a speed of 50 rpm. So speed of the driver gear is given. Okay. and the number of teeth on each gear. Each gear means your gear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 given. 75, 30, 60, 25, 40, and 20 respectively. So question that find the speed of output shaft gear, that is your driven gear, that is 6, gear 6. You can calculate or not? Okay, do it. Solve it, solve it. So this will be your final expression as mentioned in the previous class. Since gears 2 and 3 are mounted on same shaft, hence their speed will remain same, N2 equal to N3. And also similarly on second intermediate shaft, gear 4 and 5 are mounted. So N4 becomes equal to N5, equals to N5. So N2, N3, N4, N5 will cancel. So the remaining will be N1 by N6 is equal to T2 into T4 into T6 divided by T1, T3, T5. So after simplification, you can able to calculate N6 value as N1 is also mentioned along with the number of teeth given. So you calculate and tell.
Well,
12. 12 कौन मा?
600
600 unit.
RPM.
Yes, sir. 600 or 50 multiplying here.
Okay, 600 into 12 into 50, that will gives you 600. So this is another question also. You can now actually this repeat I will share with you, so you can get that this way the gearing of a machine tool as shown in below. The motor shaft is connected to gear A, rotated at a 975 RPM. The gear wheels B, C, D, and E are fixed parallel to parallel shaft rotating together. Final gear F is fixed on the output shaft. What is the speed of gear F? It is the number of teeth on each gear is given. Here, accordingly, the same way we have to solve as we solve now. So your NF become this one, 52 RPM. So now this design part is not in your syllabus. Okay. So we will shift to your next part. Just wait. So what happens in this is one also reverted gear. You remember one is another is a reverted gear train. If axis of the first and the last wheel of compound gear coincide, okay. Actually reverted gear train आपका क्या होता है? एक्चुअली जो कंपाउंड गियर ट्रेन अभी पढ़े हैं, कंपाउंड गियर ट्रेन में आप देखो ये वाला जो स्लाइड देखो, ये वाला जो डिस्कस किए थे न्यूमेरिकल, हाँ ये वाला देखो, यहाँ पर देखो आपका ड्राइवर गियर जो शाफ्ट में है, ड्रिवेन गियर दूसरा शाफ्ट में है, ये कंपाउंड गियर ट्रेन में है, ठीक है? देख रहे हो या नहीं?
यस सर।
Yes, sir.
अगर आपका फर्स्ट एंड लास्ट गियर of a compound gear train are on the same shaft, so that is called a reverted gear train. Okay, always remember, if the axis of the, you can note it, if the axis of, in your notes, if the axis of first and last wheels of a compound gear coincides, it is called a reverted gear train. Okay, this is actually your only simple and compound gear train are in your syllabus. And in reverted, you have to remember axis of the first and last gear of a compound gear coincides with each other. Then we shift to your another one, epicyclic gear train. You can see this one is reverted gear train. You can see here reverted gear train diagram. One, your two, your shaft gear 2 and gear 3. Okay, you can see it is connected in the same shaft. And these are not required, I think. Epicyclic gear train, it is not in your syllabus. But still, if you want to remember, you can. If the axis of at least one gear in gear train moves relative to the fixed axis or frame, such type of gear is known as your epicyclic gear train. Here you can see here you can see your epicyclic, the axis of the shaft over which gears are mounted may move relative to a fixed axis. यहाँ पर देखो ये जो गियर है इधर ये आपका with a move relative to a fixed axis, this axis. Okay. Oh, this is that means in your reverted gear train, your axis of the first and the last gear in your compound gear coincides, and in epicyclic gear train, your axis of at least one gear in gear train moves relative to the fixed axis or frame. Sun and a planet gear are like you have to remember. Okay. Any other part if it is there. Such a motion is epicyclic and the gear trains are arranged in such a manner that one or more of their members. It is useful for transmitting high velocity ratio, okay, with a gears of moderate size, okay, and where it is used here, epicyclic gear train are used, okay, epicyclic gear train. So this calculation is not in your syllabus, so you have to only remember what is gear, what are its types, what is gear train, and about simple and gear train, what I already discussed in the class. Okay, so this is all about end of this chapter. Okay, so we will shift to our next part in this year. You have to shift to your clothes. आप क्लॉज देखे हो या नहीं बताओ. Slide is visible. Check it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
क्लास देखे हो या नहीं. हम क्लास इसको
Yes,
पढ़ाने
sir.
से पहले आप चलो एक वीडियो देखते हैं कैसे काम करता है वो. ये सब क्लास का टाइप से हम एक्चुअली साइड में जिधर वर्किंग है हम दिखा रहे हैं, आप भी देख सकते हो, फिर हम भी इसको चला के देखा आपको दिखा रहे हैं कैसे काम करता है. Just wait. Let's see the video first, then you will understand. ये वाला चीज आप देख रहे हो, इधर जो व्हाइट कलर और एक ग्रीन कलर का गियर है जहाँ पर मेरा
Yes, sir.
कर्सर मूव कर रहा है. हम ये वाला गियर पढ़े थे पिछले क्लास में या नहीं रे.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
टाइप्स ऑफ गियर में देखे हो या नहीं.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
हाँ देखो वो डिफरेंशियल होता है. ये वाला आपका ट्रांसमिशन सिस्टम, ये प्रोपेलर शाफ्ट है. ये चलो गियर देखो, गियर कैसे पावर ट्रांसमिट होता है इंजन से. यही वाला जो है व्हाइट कलर का घूम रहा है, ये है क्लच. समझे रे. तो इसका काम क्या है हम समझ रहे हैं. देखो ये क्लच है, देखो डिटेल देखो समझो. लीवर शिफ्ट हो रहा है. आप क्लच कभी खरीदे हो या नहीं. अरे क्लच प्लेट टू व्हीलर में देखे हो. हाँ देखो, इनपुट ट्रांसमिशन ये होगा आपका इंजन इंजन का जो पावर। ये कौन से गियर पे आप चला रहे हो, इसके लिए यूज हो रहा है। ठीक, ये स्प्रिंग है। बेटा देखो, आप जब वो प्रेस कर रहे हो
Yes, sir.
ये देखो, फील कंडीशन में नो रोलिंग, partially released cloth is equal to brake फोर्स बैलेंस। कैसे हो रहा है देखो, ग्रेविटी नीचे एक्ट कर रहा है, फ्रिक्शनल फोर्स ऊपर एक्ट कर रहा है, देख रहे हो तो।
Yes, sir.
और फील कंडीशन में इंजन टॉर्क फॉरवर्ड है, फ्रिक्शनल टॉर्क कैसे काम कर रहा है देखो। ए म्यूट करो रे। This is all about your how a clothes work. We move to our this one. So basic definition, from the definition point of view, you can define in this way. A clock is a mechanical device. Always remember, it is a mechanical device used to connect or disconnect. ठीक, दिख रहा है?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
हाँ, a clock is a mechanical device used to connect or disconnect the source of power. Source of power कहाँ से होता है? कहाँ से पावर मिलता है?
इंजन।
हाँ, वेरी
Engine
गुड।
से।
एक क्लॉच यानी कि वो बीच में रहेगा, क्लॉच जो है वो बीच में रहेगा, किसके किसके, इंजन और ट्रांसमिशन के बीच में, समझ रहे हो। तो आपका जो गियर जहां से शुरू होगा, ए क्लॉच इज ए मैकेनिकल डिवाइस व्हिच इज यूज्ड टू कनेक्ट और डिस्कनेक्ट द सोर्स ऑफ पावर फ्रॉम द रिमेनिंग पार्ट्स so that the power transmission will occur at the wheel of operator. Okay, so the flow of mechanical power is controlled by cloth. Okay, and basically two types of clutches are there. One is positive clutch, another is friction clutch. So in positive clutch, what happens here? The engaging of clutch surfaces interlock to produce rigid joint. They are suitable for situations requiring simple and rapid disconnection. जहां पर आपका simple and rapid disconnect, ठीक. So basically it is also engaging surface are usually jot. देखो में कैसा है, adjustment होगा, ये इसके बीच में रहेगा। ड्राइविंग एंड as the driver releases the clutch pedal, these special are insert to the grooves and the driving and restraints are resolving together. When he pushes the, you can see, Indian clutch are plate clutch, single. That plate clutch may be single and multiple. or it is cone clause, centrifugal clause. These are the types of friction clauses. One is positive. Basic classification is that one is first is positive, second one is friction, and frictions are further classified into plate clause, cone clause, centrifugal clause, dry clause, magnetic current clause, eddy current clause. Okay, here we will only consider the plate clause, cone clause, and centrifugal clause. This plate clause are single plate and also multi-plate. आपका single plate clause जो है देखो कैसा है. It is a friction clause. Okay, remember a single plate friction clause consisting of two flanges as shown in figure. Two flanges. Okay, one flange is rigidly key into the driving shaft. आपका left one is connected to the driving shaft. Visible or not?
Yes, sir.
And right part of this flange, this one, the head portion, it is shown in this diagram. Two halves are there. So first half is connected to the driving shaft, second one is connected to the driven shaft. Okay. And the actuating force is provided by a spring. So spring you can see. So the actuating force is provided by spring when force, and this actuated force drives the your driven shaft. Okay, and the face of the driven flange is linked with a material such as a cork, leather. Okay, so in between this you can find this friction material such as a cork, leather is provided. So this is not required for you. We directly move to your multiplate class, and that is actually it works on based on two theories. One is uniform wear and uniform pressure theory. Okay. So under uniform wear theory, we have assumed that the wear is uniformly distributed over the entire surface of the friction disk. Okay. And if we are suppose we are considering the wear of occurred, so that means this expression will not valid for that one. So we have to assume that uniform wear is distributed over the entire surface of the friction disk. Okay. And this okay. A mathematical expression is not required. Only you have to remember what is clause, what are the types of clause, and we are in the friction clauses. We discussed that a single plate clause. Then we will shift to multi-plate clause. You can see this is the multi-plate clause. Okay. Function of the multi-plate clause is similar to the single plate clause. Is 1, 2, 3, 4. Here it is 4 disks are there. Okay. As explained in case of a single plate clause, one part of this one is connected to driven, another one is connected to driving shaft. So these disks are connected by node bolt arrangement here. Housing is provided here. You can see, and also there is some friction observing material is provided like cork and leather. Okay. So the driving discs are splined to the driving shaft. Okay. And driven disc drive the housing by means of bolt along which they are free to slide. As already told, housing is keyed to the driven shaft by song key. There are several keys used to connect, and here song key is provided. This is about your multiplate clause. You can see only the diagram you have to remember here. Okay. Oh, sorry. Numerical part is not there. Only diagram with the working principle is there in your syllabus. So I have to skip this numeric cone clause. So a simple form of cone clause as shown in figure here, it consists of a driver. Driver you can able to find. Another one is a cop, driver or cop. You can see there is a cop shaped part is there. Another is a cone shaped part is there. Hence its name is cone clause.
Driving.
Are you able to see the diagram or not?
Driving.
Driving.
You can see
Driving.
this cop part is connected to the driving shaft through a key, song key. Song key, actually several keys are there to connect a parts. It is not in your syllabus. You only remember there is a key is used to connect this one cop, and there is another is cone. Cone shape is connected to a driven shaft. Arrangement is similar. Okay, splines are provided. Spring is provided here. Okay, so here the cop is keyed to the driving shaft by a song key and has an inside conical surface. इसका जो आपका inside surface, it is looks like a conical shape. The slope normal force along the shaft by forward shifting lever. Okay, in order to engage the clause by bringing two conical surface. So here two conical surface, one is cop, another is cone. One is connected to driving, another is driven. Okay, so diagram you have to only remember. Diagram you have to only explain. And the advantage of this one is that this clause is simple in design and less axial force is required to engage this clause. Okay, comparable that other types of clauses what we discussed. Here it requires less axial force. And what is the disadvantage? The disadvantage is that there is a tendency that this cop and cone part may grab to each other. Get it or not? As this surface is intentionally made to absorb more force, so at the same time there is a high possibility that this cone and cop part of this cone clause may grab each other. Okay, so there is some reluctance in disengagement. That means there is a little chance that there is a disengagement problem. That means once it is engaged, sometimes it fails to disengage quickly. So these are the disadvantage of cone clause. So only one advantage is that we made it intentionally. One part is cop, another is cone, only to observe the force. Okay, high normal force it can have. One is missing, I think, centrifugal clause. Just wait. This is the cone clause. Okay, cone clause. See, I remember this one. Up to this one. This is centrifugal clause works on the principle of a centrifugal force. You remember when driving shaft rotates at a high speed, the shoe moves radially outward. The other surface of the shoe covered with a friction material which engages the pulley. Actually, there is another diagram is there. You can see how it looks. You can see. You can see this is the positive clause already explained. This is the friction clause diagram. You can see one is a driving plate, another is one is a driven plate. Or there is a chance of engagement. Here takes place engagement in when it moves to backward, and when it is forward, there is a disengagement. Okay. So the spring groove is there, in between which this engagement and the disengagement takes place. A compression ring is there. You can see. Okay. Next diagram is here. You can see single plate clause. Single plate clause. You can see there is a pressure plate. This is the best, I think, diagram you can able to remember. You can draw it, and this is the engine shaft. It is clearly visible from here. It is engine shaft. Here another is flywheel, as mentioned earlier, where its flywheel should be placed. Then after you can see there is a arrangement is provided. Okay. So here you can see this is the clause plate. Single plate is here, it is inserted. Okay, once that clause takes place. Okay, this is the single plate clause. And what about the multi-plate clause? You can see this is the number of clause plates are there. Able to identify it or not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Where is clause pedal, when it is pressed, how that end spring and is moves, and how that all the clause plates will come in contact with each other. That flywheel, engine, crankshaft, you can see this diagram also through internet. Then the cone clutch, you can see cone clutch. देखो आप जो cone clutch देख रहे थे वो 2 डायमेंशनल डायग्राम था, 2 डायमेंशनल फिगर था, इसलिए आप क्या किए कि आपका देखो एक साइड कॉप था, एक साइड कोन था, आप देख रहे थे या नहीं? आप इधर देखो, ये डायग्राम में देखो, आपको क्लियरली ये विजिबल हो रहा है कि कोन है, देखो जैसे आपका, और ये जो वाला पार्ट है ये कॉप वाला पार्ट है, ये उनके बीच में आपका देखो, और बिटवीन देयर इज a friction material is provided and spring is also, how that spring, for you can see that a spring part is there, it brings the cop and the cone parts, okay, in contact with each other. Then come to the centrifugal clause. You can see centrifugal clause works on the principle of a centrifugal force. इसलिए इसका नाम है centrifugal. Driving shaft rotates at a high speed. The shaft moves radially outward. You can see. And the outer surface of shoe are provided with a friction material which engages the pulley. You can see. Okay, so this is all about the clause. Positive friction clause and the types of friction clause, your single plate, multi-plate, cone, and also centrifugal. Semi-centrifugal is not in your syllabus.